A young man, Hipster, and his girlfriend, Pixie, rent an apartment. Pixie goes into the bathroom but finds out that the hot water is not running. She informs Hipster and he opens his laptop to try calling the apartment owner, who he believes to be a woman. However, a manly voice picks the call and talks to Hipster in weird fashion and hangs up. Hipster goes to the bathroom and tells Pixie. Pixie calms him and says it was probably the owner's husband who was the one who picked up the call. The things that Pixie and Hipster don't realize is that Gerald, the old man and the landlord, is watching them from a camera. Few hours later, Gerald leaves his house and goes to Pixie and Hipster's apartment. Upon entering the apartment, he inspects all the cameras. Afterwards, he goes to the bathroom and uses Pixie's toothbrush. Before he leaves the house, he picks a bunch of keys from the cabinet and takes them with him. Soon afterward, Gerald is seen making a copy of the keys. Later that evening, Pixie is seen asking Hipster for her keys, which she can't find on the cabinet when she left it. Surprisingly, she sees the key is lying on her trousers. A moment later, Hipster is about to use Pixie's toothbrush because he says that his toothbrush fell on the ground. Pixie argues that he shouldn't use it, but Hipster doesn't listen. However, he removes the toothbrush from his mouth immediately because it tastes bad. The next few days, Gerald is breaking into an apartment and he starts installing cameras in all corners of the house. While installing the cameras, Sarah, the occupant of the apartment, comes in with her dog. She feeds her dog and goes to the bathroom. When she enters the bathroom, Sarah meets Gerald, who then knocks her out. Gerald finds a way to trick Sarah's dog and he leaves her apartment. The next scene appears a teenage boy named Kyle, Lori, his mother, and Arthur, his father. They are talking in their house looking for an apartment for their vacation. Lori is seen going through a list of available apartments online for a week's vacation. She shows Arthur and they both pick their apartment choice. They look at the owner's profile and see that the owner is a woman who looks nice. Little do they know that the apartment belongs to Gerald, who fakes his profile picture. On the other hand, as Gerald gets into his truck to leave the premises, he knocks down a waste bin container. When he gets out of his truck and drags the waste container into the house, he finds out that Sarah is now awake and screaming for help. He goes to the bathroom and knocks her out. He carries her into the waste bin container and puts her in the back of his truck. A few minutes later, Gerald arrives home. Inside his house, he meets Junior, a boy who lives in his home. Junior is currently watching TV. When Gerald goes inside, he immediately changes his clothes because they are wet. Seconds later, as he is about to leave the house, Junior asks him where he is going, but he doesn't answer. Afterwards, Gerald gets into his truck and starts driving. Later on, he arrives at a building that is located in a remote area. Upon entering the building, he walks into a room full of monitors which he uses to watch the tenants. The next scene shows Kyle and his parents in a car going to their new apartment. Accompanying them in the car is Molly, Kyle's sister, and Danielle, Molly's friend. The group talks about how far the apartment is to town. Moments later, they arrive at the apartment. When they come inside the apartment, they are amazed by how beautiful it is. Molly and Danielle prepare to go swimming in the pool, meanwhile Gerald is watching them from his monitors. In addition, the two girls decide to get into the swimming pool. After some minutes of swimming, they come out and sit by the pool. While they sit, they talk about their love lives. However, Kyle stares at them from inside the house. Soon afterwards, she catches Kyle staring, but he runs inside immediately. Later on, Danielle comes inside to meet Kyle, who is now watching TV. Danielle flirts at him first and both of them have a short chat before his parents come over and interrupt them. Later on, Gerald is seen streaming the live video on the dark web. Meanwhile, at night, Sarah wakes up and finds herself tied up. She screams and struggles for help, but she fails. Just then, she hears a bang on the door and Gerald opens the door and brings her out. He takes her to an underground cellar where she meets Claire, another lady who seems to have been there for quite some time. Claire approaches Sarah and tells her it's going to be alright, but she ignores her. Now back at the apartment, Molly is in the bathroom having her bath while Gerald watches her from his monitor. Few hours later, Arthur goes into the room and complains about the house being out of shape to Lori. Lori tells Arthur to try and manage till the vacation ends. A little while later, Arthur finds one of Gerald's cameras. When Gerald sees that everybody has gone to sleep, Kyle goes outside to smoke. As he does so, Danielle comes behind him and calls his name. Kyle startles and looks back to find Danielle standing behind him. Danielle invites him to come and swim with her in the pool. He refuses to follow her at first, but later reconsiders. Danielle goes into the pool but Kyle stays outside. Few minutes pass and Danielle greets Kyle goodnight because he keeps ignoring her. After entering the room, Molly warns Danielle to stop flirting with Kyle. Later that night, she asks Claire how long she has been there. Claire says that she can't recall. Sarah encourages Claire that they should find a way to escape, but Claire informs her that the only way out of the cellar is through the hatch. She adds that only Gerald can open it from the outside. Sarah asks if Gerald usually comes into the tunnel and Claire says yes. Sarah urges Claire that they can subdue him the next time he comes in, but Claire disputes the plan and says Gerald will kill her if she tries anything. Claire then tells Sarah that she isn't the first girl that would come inside the tunnel. She narrates to Sarah that a girl once tried to escape but Gerald killed her the next day. The following day, Junior is watching TV at home. When he hears a knock on the door, he opens up and meets a delivery man. Outside, the delivery man hands him a package and inquires if Junior is a filmmaker, because this is the third camera delivery this week. Junior says no and the delivery man leaves. After the delivery man leaves, Junior opens up the box and finds a bunch of spy cameras in there. However, when he's about to see it, Gerald comes outside and asks who was at that door. Junior tells him that it's the delivery guy and Gerald goes back inside. Later that day, Gerald goes to the apartment when Kyle and his family are not around. While entering the house, Gerald goes through the girls' belongings. He installs another set of cameras in strategic locations of the house. Moments later, the family arrives home. Arthur notices the door is unlocked and gets suspicious. He checks around the house but finds nothing. Soon afterward, Danielle goes into the bathroom to change. She is being recorded by Gerald, and one of the stream viewers who is anonymous tells Gerald that he is willing to pay $5,000 for Danielle's undergarment. Back in the cellar, Sarah can't fall asleep. She then tries to open the cellar's hatch. The following day, they hear Gerald's truck come over. He opens the cellar and throws down some fast food. After Gerald leaves, Sarah tries to encourage Claire. Claire then tells Sarah that Gerald kidnapped her when she was pregnant. She narrates that she gave birth to a bot, but Gerald took him away. She doesn't have any idea what Gerald has done to him. Sarah uses this to motivate Claire and she agrees that they must terminate Gerald. Meanwhile, Junior is going through Gerald's stuff at home. He finds some keys in a drawer. He then goes outside to unlock the garage with it. At night, Gerald gets home and finds out that his streaming network and camera have been disabled. He then gets in his truck and drives off. A few minutes later, he arrives at the family's rented apartment while they are all at the pool. He goes to where he keeps his signal decoder and resets it, and in turn the cameras go back online at home. He then remembers Danielle's belongings that one of his viewers wants to buy. He goes to the room to steal it. Meanwhile doing it, Danielle comes inside the house and enters the bathroom. This prompts Gerald to hide, while Junior has sneaked into Gerald's room and he discovers the monitors. Later on, Danielle notices that someone has gone through her stuff. Molly concludes it's Kyle and decides to go scold him. Further into the night, Kyle comes to the girls' room when everyone is asleep. He signals Danielle to come outside so they can smoke together. Instead of coming outside, Danielle accuses Kyle of taking her undergarment, but Kyle denies the allegation and this infuriates Danielle, who goes back inside the house angrily. A few moments later, Gerald arrives at his home, but then he notices someone has been to his room. He picks a gun and makes his way towards the cellar. He goes into the cellar and ties up Sarah. He then takes Claire out of the cellar. Later on, Gerald is seen bathing for Claire. Afterwards, he returns her to the cellar where he finds signs of struggles. Sarah informs him that she was thirsty and in the process of getting the water, she accidentally knocks over the coffee cup. Gerald then unties her but keeps her in handcuffs and takes her to where she plans to bathe for her. Upon removing the handcuffs, Sarah punctures Gerald with a blade and tries to escape, but she finds no way out. She then locks herself in a room and demands that Gerald releases Claire. Seconds later, Gerald passes down a hose into the room's vent and releases gas inside. This forces Sarah to open the door and get shot by Gerald. Later on, Claire is seen digging a grave for Sarah as Gerald sits and monitors her. At night, Arthur and Lori prepare to go have fun in town, but Kyle insists on following them. Meanwhile, during his stream, a viewer texts Gerald and says he is ready to pay $100,000 for Danielle, but Gerald says she's not for sale. The viewer then asks his other viewers if anyone knows the apartment's address. And within a minute of asking, he is provided with the address. Gerald immediately ends the stream and drives over to the apartment so he can watch over the girls at a distance. After leaving home, Junior goes back to the room and sits in front of the monitor for a little while. Later, an unknown man dressed in black breaks into the house and knocks out Danielle and Molly by using an electric teaser on them. Few days later, Gerald comes in and kills the unknown man with an axe. He then ties up and tells Daniela and Molly that they have seen his face, thus he would have to take them with him. Meanwhile, Junior, who sees everything that is going on, picks up the phone and dials 911 immediately. Few minutes later, Kyle and his parents arrive home and notice Gerald's truck outside. Arthur and Lori enter the house, but Kyle stays back to investigate the truck. Kyle hears Danielle's screams from inside the truck. He then opens the truck and finds Danielle, but Gerald manages to knock Kyle out and drives off with Danielle. Not long after that, Arthur also discovers Molly, who is tied up inside the house. On the other hand, Junior sees all the cameras. He then goes to the cellar and opens the hatch for Claire. Not long after that, Gerald arrives home. He goes inside to take some equipment, but little does he know, Danielle has broken free. She gets inside the truck and starts driving away. Just a few meters out, the engine breaks down. Unexpectedly, Junior and Claire approach Danielle and the three of them try fixing the truck. After fixing the truck, Claire reverses and knocks out Gerald, who is now closing on them. They drive off afterward. The next day, the cops find a woman's body instead of Gerald at the location where Claire ran him over with the truck. The cops figure out that the woman must have stopped to help Gerald, who then kills her and steals her car afterward. Later on, the movie comes to an end as Gerald is seen driving a truck full of kidnapped girls who are tied up, and he's currently enjoying the music. Although Claire, Danielle, and Junior manage to escape and the police are looking for Gerald, the ending of the movie is quite disappointing because Gerald still lives happily. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like and comment to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.